Will cameos stick around past Mortal Kombat 1? Let's talk about it. I think it could really go either way, but my guess would be no, and here's why. So real quick, for those of you who have been living under a rock, the Kameo system is a new assist fighter system that was introduced in Mortal Kombat 1. Every matchup in this game is now a 2v2 instead of a 1v1, and there's no way to disable or turn them off. Now, there were modes in other Netherrealm games where assist fighters were present, but they were way simpler and they only existed in those modes. So, obviously, Netherrealm experimented with the idea before, and they clearly liked it enough to make them a part of the core gameplay in Mortal Kombat 1. But like I said, I don't think we'll see them past this game, at least not in the same capacity that they were implemented here. For one thing, I think if they started adding cameos into every game, it would really diminish from the uniqueness that Mortal Kombat 1 has. And if they become a staple, that'll fade extremely fast. Another thing, and probably the main complaint you'll hear in this video, is they're pretty good at breaking the game and adding metas that cause a lack of variety. Think of Cyrax before he was patched. Pretty much everyone at the tournament level was using Cyrax because one of his moves would always keep you safe no matter what move you were trying to do, and it would also add just a bunch of chip damage to the opponent. This move was so game breaking that if you were competing at the tournament level and not using Cyrax, you were pretty much going to lose. Another example of this is the new meta, which is using Kung Lao. One of his moves is he throws a hat on the ground and you can delay this hat to hit whenever you want, and the hat hits low. Combine this with the fact that your character can do an overhead while this hat is hitting low, and you create something that is almost entirely unblockable. And this move can be abused a lot. You can use it twice before your meter is drained, and even if you do drain the meter, the move recharges super fast. Personally, I think this needs a nerf, and the way I would nerf it is by making it recharge slow. But yeah, it's literally game breaking right now because it creates an unblockable setup. I mean, technically it's blockable, but it is extremely hard. And while every fighting game has their version of this, where something's unblockable or there's kind of breaks in the game, I've noticed it's happening a lot more now that these cameos are a thing versus in the past. Another reason I don't think the cameos are going to stick around is because not everyone enjoys them. I have a friend who plays a lot of Mortal Kombat, and he's just not playing a lot of Mortal Kombat 1 simply because he hates the cameo system. I think a good remedy to this would be to add a mode where cameos are just disabled, but I don't see any sign of that happening. Another thing that I know a lot of other players dislike is that cameos can be used as sort of a cop-out. What I mean by that is that a lot of characters that are iconic to the Mortal Kombat franchise, for example, Sonya Blade, Jax Briggs, and Kano, are all only cameos in this game and they're not main roster fighters. Now yes, they do exist as cameos, but cameos only have a few moves and you're not using them half as much as your main roster fighter. So that's why to me they can be used in sort of a cop-out way sometimes. Also, to build on that fact, a lot of the characters that have cameo doubles like Kung Lao, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, a lot of them don't have the same moves that their main fighter has, which means you're taking away part of the moveset of the main fighter to now put them into a cameo. Now that being said, this point that I'm making is a bit of a double-edged sword, and I'll kind of get into why a little bit later. But yeah, in my opinion, when it comes time for Injustice 3 and Mortal Kombat 2? Mortal Kombat 13? Whatever they're going to call the next Mortal Kombat game, when it comes time for that, I don't think we'll be seeing cameos again, and I'd prefer it that way. I like the system, but I don't want it to become a staple by any means. Now, with all that being said, here's some reasons that they might actually stay. So one of the reasons I think they might stay is that the overall reception to them seems to be pretty positive. I know I said earlier that some people don't like them, but I meant when I said some people don't like them. Most people are actually a big fan of the system. So being that Netherrealm took a pretty big risk by putting them in the game and people actually liked it, I can see them doubling down and start making it a staple of their games. Another thing that I know a lot of players really like is that the cameos can supplement a bad character and make them viable. There is not a single fighter on the roster right now who could not be used to defeat top tier players. And that's because if you're pairing your fighter with their optimal cameo, it makes every fighter in the game really strong. Now obviously some are still better than others, that's always going to be the case, but there's no characters that are so bad that they're literally unusable. And I really like that the cameos bring that to the table. Another reason I think they might stay is that it expands the roster in a very easy way. Now, like I mentioned before, with them being sort of a cop-out and how it's a double-edged sword, here's the part that I think is actually good about it. In this game, we saw the resurgence of a lot of 3D era characters. Now, I never played the 3D era. My first Mortal Kombat game I ever played was Mortal Kombat 9, so I don't recognize any of these people. That being said, I know a lot of longtime fans of Mortal Kombat do recognize these characters, and they like the fact that they're in the game again. And I don't think that would have been possible without the Kameo system. If you have to dedicate a lot of your roster to staple characters, that leaves little room to try new ones or bring back old ones. So with them being able to exclude staple characters like Sonya, Kano, and Jax, well, now they can add people like Li Mei again, and Havoc, and Reiko, things like that. So like I said, it kind of goes both ways, and at the end of the day, 23 main roster fighters is already a pretty decent roster to have at launch, and then stack on top of that the 15 cameos, and you've got a lot of characters in the game. Another reason I think they could stay is that there's something different. Cameos in the capacity that they're played in this game has never been seen before in a Netherrealm game. At least to my knowledge, that is. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. The only problem with that, though, is with them being different, that'll only last so long. If we see the next Injustice game, and potentially even the Mortal Kombat game after that, include cameos, their freshness is going to wear off super quick. I'd argue it would even wear off if it was tried one more time. If Injustice 3 has cameos, I don't even think people are going to like it half as much as they do in this game, because it's no longer new, it's just the thing they did with the last game. And this effect will only amplify the more they try and do it, if they decide to go that route. I also think that cameos could stay because they add a lot of variety to the gameplay. Playing as one character and switching to a different is one thing, but now you've got, okay, maybe I want to play as Johnny Cage. Well, I have 15 different pairings I can try with just one character. Okay, maybe tomorrow I want to play as Ashra. Well, now I have 15 cameos again that I can try with her, and they're all going to play into her moveset different than Johnny's. So as you can see, it adds a lot of experimentation and a lot of variety to the gameplay. The only problem with this point is, again, I feel like once people find their optimal pairing, they're not really going to experiment past that. Like, if you want to play Sindel and use her to her absolute max, you're gonna have to pick Kung Lao, at least with the game's current meta. If you try anyone else, you're not gonna be half as good as using Kung Lao. So the variety really only works on a casual level where you're not going against really good players. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think they add a lot of variety, especially at the casual level, and that's one of the main things I like about the cameos. And the last point why I think they'll stay, and I think if they do stay, this will be the main reason why, is because with these simple characters, you can add a lot more of them. Like I mentioned earlier, you've got 23 main roster fighters, and then you've got 15 more cameos. Well, more characters equals more sales. They're starting to put them in combat packs now, which is really going to up the sales for that. Eventually, they can go the route of adding different skins for these cameos. I think they've already done this a little bit, but not to the full extent as the main roster fighters. And with more skins and more characters, that just means more money for Netherrealm and WB. So I think if they make enough money off of it, that'll be the main reason, and probably the only reason why they'll add them in a future game. But with that being said, I am going to end the video here. If you guys enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, as it truly does help my channel grow. If you guys want to see more in the future, hit the subscribe button, as well as ring that notification bell so that you guys are always alerted whenever I upload more. And let me know what you guys think. Are you guys a fan of the cameo system? Would you like to see it return in future games? Do you hate the cameo system? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.